Cool. Very cool. Diana?
So I found kind of like a similar diversity event at Purdue, and I applied and they accepted me for that program. So I went to Purdue, and then they also have like another like grad school conference. So I went over there a second time. Um, but there are these different universities have like different diversity kind of programs where they'll fly out applicants who are applying. Some of them have different requirements. Like I know the MIT one has like a GPA requirement, but then there's others that there's no requirement necessarily. Um, I also went to kind of like one of the student organizations at Stanford was putting together like an event. So I went to that. So those were good experiences to kind of see, I guess, just different people sharing their experiences there. So you really got to know about how they felt about the school. Like some people, they were like really honest. So they kind of told you like what to watch out for, like with choosing faculty members, kind of like their um, horror stories or either like stuff that worked for them. So it was really nice to connect with students and pretty much learn from their experience. I think that was probably the most beneficial thing. I also had the chance to meet with different recruiters because one of them was styled like a as a conference for various grad schools. So there was about maybe like 50 grad schools that came out to the event, and then you can speak to their recruiters or their student representatives. So that was nice. But yeah, there's lots of grad schools that have these events. So definitely Google them and apply to those. And I want to say, I believe a good time to look at those would be maybe in like September. Um, I think that's around when the applications open up, and then they're due in like October to December. So definitely apply to those. It doesn't hurt to apply, so just go for it.
Cool. Antonio, did you want to share if you took any tours or visit any schools?
I didn't really take any tours of schools. I kind of already, I kind of already had envisioned Long Beach way before I graduated, um, and way before I applied to it. Um, I I went off of mostly tours other people had taken. Um, and at work, they did have these events where universities would come out and do these things called lunch and learns. So they would present whatever programs they had available. So USC came out, LMU, and they kind of, I guess the colleges already had come to me. Um, but yeah, I didn't get flown out anywhere or anything cool like that. That was about all I did really to explore.
That's fine. I mean, some people like you know, they already have their school set. Like it could be like undergrad where I want to go to this school. This is the school, and you know, and that's good for you because you know the decision was very straightforward for you. And like they sort of goes to show like there can be a lot of variety in terms of the kind of experiences people may have when it comes to the decision making and the offers and applications they may put and so forth. Okay, I guess the last question here. I mean, um, I'm not sure if this might apply to some of you if you haven't yet gotten to that point. I know it kind of did apply to me. We could skip this question or go to student questions if anyone wants to. Um, what's it called? The last question we had here was how big of a hurdle was financing grad school for you? I did end up going and completing my program, and it was, ridiculous. Like I mentioned, ridiculously expensive per semester to do so. But for me, I ended up sort of self-financing my school. I didn't necessarily uh, qualify for a lot of scholarships or fellowships because I was working. But because I made enough while I worked full time, actually, I was able to pay my school that way. I mean, I still got loans, student loans. That way, I sort of reduced the amount of cash flow that I had to be paying every 6 months, having a fork up, $14,000. Student loans sort of made that hit a lot less impactful. I'm still paying my loans right now, but it's definitely nowhere the case of some people. They may be tens of thousands of dollars in debt. For the most part, I've mostly paid it off, and I've been, I guess, one of the lucky ones where it's not a huge burden on me or anything like that. Did any of you guys have any experiences in regards to that you'd want to go over, or if we want to open it up to any student questions? No? Okay, that's fine. I know some of you guys, like I mentioned, you guys are still in the process of getting there. It's not yet like, oh, I'm going to school and all of that. No, I guess the purpose of this presentation was sort of to give you an idea of the application process and everything up to the point where you step into a classroom or a virtual classroom. So I guess with that said, we still have. I'm trying to cap this at an hour and a half. If anyone wants to take off, they're welcome to do so. But I wanted to open up the floor to any students out there who might have questions for any of us that we can answer in regards to this time where we're making the decision to go to grad school. Any questions out there?
I had a question. So, kind of like if I want to go to get my master's for like a certain emphasis of my major, like how would I declare like this school? I mean, like say that two schools have like same master's program availability. Like, how would I say like, oh, this one is more valuable than this other one?
So, does anybody want to tackle that? I mean, I could tackle it.
Pretty much, are you asking like if you're apply to two programs at a school?
Or if like say I apply to Cal State Long Beach for like structure analysis, and I also applied to Fullerton for structure analysis, how would I say like, oh, Fullerton's program is better than Cal State Long Beach program? Because but I mean, you guys did a pretty good job answering it, like saying like looking at it at long term, like paying for it, and also like the professors that you're going to be taking and perhaps like working under. But like, how would I still say like this education is more valuable at this school than the other?
I think it really.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Jenna.
Go ahead if you want to answer that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it really comes down to like what you're looking to get out of the program, like individually, and like maybe asking students who are in the programs kind of like what their experiences have been and like how they like the programs and like the faculty members. I think that would help you narrow down like as you try to decide which program you want to go to. And then
Okay.
Ivan, if you want to add to that.
To sort of add to that, if it seems that the schools themselves seem very similar, it could just be a toss up of which one do I like more on what's more convenient for me, because if you're talking about two schools that are in terms of I guess school standing in terms of resources that they provide to students, and the departments themselves may be very similar. It could just be a matter of what's more convenient to you. I mean, if you were talking about different schools that had different departments, and say school, Cal State Fullerton, they're say you were trying to go to their CS department there versus, the CS department at, you know, Cerritos College, or, Cal State Northridge or something like that. Um, which one do you feel like can provide you that education that you're looking for? It may be that Fullerton provides more classes that say go into, um, something technical that you're looking for. Like you mentioned, structural analysis. I'm not sure if that would be on the mechanical or civil engineering side, but say it's a mechanical engineering. Say you're looking at Cal State Long Beach and Cal State Fullerton. What if Cal State Fullerton offers, classes where you may have access to, doing hands-on projects, or maybe classes that go more deeper into that, versus say Cal State Long Beach may have a curriculum that only just covers that as part of the degree, but doesn't go too much into it. There could be differences in that. But if after doing your research and you see that they're, very, very similar in terms of what they offer to you, it might just come down to you for what's most convenient to you. Again, you have to find what you value in terms of that, what's important to you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So, my route I would want to take for my master's would be business management, so not really technical. So, I have a couple of questions about it. The first one is, does it really matter should I just get the piece of paper? Does it really matter to a company like where I take my business classes for it, since it's not really anything technical or beneficial, working for an engineering company? Or should I really be choosing precisely on where to really go when I'm taking those types of courses? If that makes sense.
Okay. I don't know if you want to tackle this one, Thomas, but I could give my 2 cents on this. So in some aspects, it does matter where you might be getting your degree from. It really depends where you're planning to work. Say if, for example, you're planning to work at a firm, at a, some very important, investing fund or hedge fund or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to run with big boys, and maybe a lot of egos are involved. It could be that they could place a lot of emphasis on where you went to school, what brand value does it bring. Like Cal State Long Beach Business School doesn't hold the same brand worth as say Harvard Business School.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a matter of like you can have programs that could have very similar offerings in terms of what they offer to students, but just the brand recognition itself is a selling factor. You just have to see where am I going to work, and if that's going to play an important part in whether I can progress my career or not. If it's something where you just need to have that piece of paper that that says, oh, hey, I have, a degree in business administration. I want to get into more managerial positions. It might just suffice that, oh, I took classes, online from, Cal State Long Beach or whatnot, or somewhere else. It might not be as important. But that's where you have to do the research and see where am I going to, and do they place emphasis on brand value or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to add to that. Kind of what Ivan said. I mean, it really just comes down to your own preference for evaluating what you want to do. Is it are you looking just for a certificate, or actually like an MBA? And go ahead.
So it's more of, so I'm already working in a company, and after a year, you're able to go to school and they're able to pay for your school. So the idea is that I want to move up into managerial positions. It takes a longer with just a bachelor's, but they said kind of cut a corner if you're able to get a master's in business management. So that's why I kind of want to go and do it. Half the people were telling me that you just need the piece of paper, and the other half says that maybe you should really try to pick a school you should really attend that will give you some benefit. But I'm really not sure on how it really works within like the engineering companies, on how important is it like what school I go to. Because technically, if I really need that piece of paper, I rather take online courses and just, you know, get it done while I'm working instead of taking a break from work and actually, you know, going to physical classes. But if I really need a piece of paper with like, you know, a certain type of, you know, attending classes, not just like an online class, you know what I mean? Like, I just not sure like what route I'm really supposed to take if I'm already existing in like a company already.
Yeah, if you want to stay like in the same company that you are now, then you kind of answered it yourself. You know, just the online courses should suffice. But I guess biggest difference is, you know, how Ivan said the weight of where you go. Like having that Harvard, for example, title under your email address, that gives you a lot of weight, and it also broadens your network to access to different like, you know, networks as well. So if you're looking for just growth within your current structure, then I think that you'd be fine with the online stuff. But if you're looking to expand, which honestly, I think like we all want to adapt, right? Because nothing is ever guaranteed in life. So if anything happens to your current situation, having that paper with the actual substance in it, I think will go a long way. So, I mean, really just comes down to you doing the research and what you're willing to work with. You know, what are you flexible with? If you're willing to, you know, go for a full-time program or a part-time program, it's really just self-evaluating. Like, it just goes back to what Ivan said. The self-evaluation really goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you can even look into fellowships that can help you get to where you want to go to, because those open up a lot of doors. Like if you want to do the MBA program, there's one called MLT, which is for minorities, and they really like help you get into like Ivy League schools. But that's just one example. So these programs exist depending on what you want to do before you apply.
Okay, thank you.
To add in a little bit, I don't think it matters if it's online or in person, because it's still that you're finishing the degree. At Northrop, we have like this leadership program that targets specific like top schools. So if your company has something like that and you want to go into that program later in your career, I would definitely target that school now. That way you can get into that program later.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. We're cutting it close to 5. If anyone has one last question, we can tackle that before we sign off here. Anyone else? One last question?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
So what challenges did you guys face while attending graduate school, and how did you guys overcome it?
So I guess I can answer that one as well. So for me, one of the biggest challenges for me was definitely time management. I mean, I've always tried to practice it well and schedule stuff around so that I'm not doing things at the last minute. But when you're working full time and you're trying to take, 2, sometimes 3 classes at a time to try to finish up quickly so that you're not paying a ton of money, um, it definitely was a challenge to try to juggle all those things and to try to stay involved, have some form of social life outside of that. And it really was something that I had to, revisit and over, trial and error, see if this worked and that didn't work. And sometimes it would be per semester. Something that worked one semester might not work well the next, depending on the level of classes that I was taking. And sometimes some classes were pretty straightforward. Some of them were just like, okay, just study this and, take the test and so forth. And some of them were like, I need to dig into all the reference books they have and, try to like bug the TA as soon as he becomes available and so forth. And just trying to do that when you only have a certain window to do so, it can be very challenging. And for me, it took a big toll on on sanity to get all of that and still come out um, fighting on the other end. Um, yeah. Anyone else want to share? I know you guys haven't yet started, but is there any, I guess, challenge that if you want to share in regards to the experience you're having now?
Time management, I guess. It's going through the process, like being like working, and then after work making time for everything else. So what I've done as far as like my approach is, reading a lot more books, studying as much as I can, and just um, I don't want to call it a benefit, but with the whole COVID situation, there's a lot of online like meetings like this, for example. So I've been really involved in like keeping an eye out for them and just you know jumping onto whichever one I can, because universities have those going on when it comes to like discussions amongst faculty, or they'll have their online what do you call it, like conferences. So just really getting involved with that to kind of like get the experience and the exposure to what they do. um, I'll be at work with like an AirPod on, just trying to like make sure that I'm listening while I'm like working, and like adhering to my schedule. Maybe I'm a little rough on myself, but I know that like what I want to do, and the only way I'm going to get there is by being disciplined. So it's been a 2-year process for me, like as far as the application process goes, just because I'm really that invested into making it happen. Um, so if you have that ability to like manage your time and just focus, it's going to go a long way. So Ivan, like, much praise to you for how you did it, because you worked full time and made it happen. That's not easy to do. So
Thank you.
Okay. I guess with that said, if there's any other questions that anyone may have, feel free to reach out to me. I mean, you can reach out to the MAES LA professional chapter. I'm always in contact with them. So if you have any questions for me or Thomas or Diana or anyone else here, I can forward that information to them or questions to them. And feel free to keep in touch if you have any questions regarding that, or I guess anything else that related to that. So with that said, I guess thanks for coming, everyone. I really appreciate all the questions and all of you guys' time, taking the time to really, study this, because it's a pretty hefty decision one has to make, and it can change one's life in a sense. It can make a very big difference there. So hopefully this provided some things to think about and to reflect on. And if you guys go back and do end up making that decision, hopefully it provided you with information that can help that decision and that transition go as smoothly as possible. So I guess with that said, thanks everyone. I hope everyone has a good rest of their weekend. I want to thank the Long Beach Student MAES chapter for hosting this Zoom conference, and hopefully we can do this some more. I know they're planning on, the professional chapter is planning on doing another workshop in a couple of weeks. So keep an eye on for that, and we'll be sending out details soon. But thanks everyone, thanks for coming, and I hope everyone has a good weekend.